Okay, time for the NFL picks. This is my favorite part of the week. You spend all week poring over all these games, and it's fun to see if you can take any of that knowledge and turn it into some cold hard cash. Did a pretty good job of it last week. 2-1 on the 3 NFL picks, 5-1 overall. Won all 3 of our college football games on Saturday, and all we needed was a San Diego cover on Monday night to give us a perfect 6-0 weekend. Chargers up 24-0 at halftime in that game. However, we know what happened, the meltdown in the second half, Denver coming back to win. So a tough ending to an otherwise good weekend. But on to this week. As I said, 2-1 on the 3 NFL picks last week. That puts us at 11-9 on the year. Not great, but certainly not horrible. Just waiting for that one breakthrough weekend, that one undefeated weekend like last week almost was, to really get out ahead of things and put us comfortably in the black. Maybe this weekend will be that weekend. 3 games tomorrow I'm having a play on. Want to start in Houston with the best game of the week, at least in my opinion, the best game of this NFL Sunday. The Baltimore Ravens going on the road to take on the Houston Texans. Both these teams sitting at 5-1 right now. Both these teams in first place in their division. Houston currently installed as a 6-point favorite on BETDAQ in this game, 48 the total, and I do like the Houston Texans. Listen, Houston coming off that disappointing loss to the Green Bay Packers last week, and maybe the Texans secondary was exposed a little bit in that game. You know, Houston ranked 3rd in the league in pass defense coming into that game, but when you looked at who Houston had played, their first 5 opponents, 4 of those opponents really struggled to pass the ball. I'm talking about Miami, Jacksonville, Tennessee, and the New York Jets. Now, the only team Houston played in those first 5 games who could pass the ball, the Denver Broncos, they threw for 330 yards against that Texans defense. So now that we saw Aaron Rodgers last week throw for 338 and 6 touchdowns, we've seen the Texans play 2 teams who are considered good passing teams, and they're giving up about 330 yards a game. So maybe this Texans secondary not quite as good as we thought they were coming into last week's game. And Joe Flacco has arrived, I believe, as an upper echelon NFL quarterback. Have been impressed with Flacco this year, and I do expect him to have success against this Houston secondary on Sunday. However, I do not expect the Baltimore defense to have much success in slowing down this Houston Texans offense. This Baltimore defense is just not the same unit that we're used to seeing. I mean, Baltimore seems year in and year out, they have a top 5 unit. Last year's no exception, ranking top 5 in most statistical categories in the NFL. This year, though, 26th in the league in total defense, and really hurting right now. Losing Ray Lewis, their emotional leader, maybe no longer their best player, but certainly their leader, the captain of that defense, tore his triceps last week, will most likely be out for the remainder of the season. And maybe even more significant, it got less press, but losing cornerback Ladarius Webb, that's a big, big injury because Baltimore was already struggling in the secondary, and it's not going to get any better now without Ladarius Webb. So Houston, a very balanced offense. They run the ball as well as they throw the ball. And Baltimore, not only have they had trouble in the secondary this year, they've had trouble stopping the run, which is extremely unusual for the Baltimore Ravens. So 48's a total in this game. Is kind of a high total for a game involving 2 defenses. The Texans are still a good defense, ranking top 10 in the NFL in most categories. Baltimore certainly has the reputation of a good defense. So a lot of people might think this is a high total, but I understand the total here. I think there are going to be a lot of points scored. And really, I think Houston's going to win this game going away. I do like Houston -6. And if you lean towards Houston in this game like me, BETDAQ is where you've got to place this bet because this line has moved to 7 everywhere in Vegas and most places offshore. So not many places you can find this type of value right now, Houston -6, but that is the market being offered on BETDAQ. So if you're considering betting on Houston, I strongly advise you to take advantage of the friendly number on BETDAQ, back Houston -6. Next game I want to get to, the New York Giants, defending Super Bowl champions, hosting their NFC East division rival Washington Redskins. Giants currently installed as a 6.5-point favorite in this game on BETDAQ, 50.5 the total. Giants coming off maybe the most impressive win any team in the NFL has had this season, beating the San Francisco 49ers 26-3 on the road. A lot of people were saying the Niners were looking like the best team in the league coming into that game. New York just pushed them around. And a 6.5-point favorite over Washington. Listen, I know Washington beat the Giants twice last year, so the argument a lot of people are making in this game is Washington, who only won 5 games last year, beat the Giants twice, proving that they match up well with the Giants. And Washington is much better on offense this year with Robert Griffin III. So the Redskins, plus 6.5 might be a good value in this game. I don't really follow that argument. I do like the Giants here, minus 6.5. And first, listen, I understand this is the fourth time I've bet against the Washington Redskins this year. I have nothing against Washington. I have nothing against Robert Griffin III. I just feel like they've been a little overvalued. Now, so far, I've sort of been wrong. I'm 1-2. I've lost 2 out of the 3 times I've gone against Washington so far this year. So if they beat me again on Sunday, then maybe I really have to stop betting against this team. But I just feel like people need to slow down on the Redskins. Listen, people love offense. People love stars. The Redskins have had a good offense this year. They most definitely have a bona fide star now in Robert Griffin III. However, this is still not a good football team. And when I look at the matchup in this game in particular, the Redskins are 32nd, dead last in the league in pass defense. And folks, we know about this New York Giants passing offense. 5th in the league right now. They're averaging 290 yards a game. Hakeem Nicks back now. He came back last week. Hakeem Nicks, their best wide receiver, had missed a couple games with injury. So they're now at full strength now, this New York passing game, going up against the worst pass defense in the entire league. This is a recipe for disaster for the Washington Redskins. Now, hey, Robert Griffin III has been great this year. The Redskins offense has been extremely impressive. I don't expect the Giants to shut down the Redskins in the same way they did the San Francisco 49ers last week. However, I think the Giants are going to score and score and score some more in this game. And I think New York -6.5 at home is a good value. I am backing the Giants in this game. Final game I want to talk about, Green Bay Packers going on the road to face the St. Louis Rams. Green Bay installed as a 5-point favorite right now on BETDAQ, 44.5 the total. Listen, Rams 5-1 against the number this year. This is the 4th game where they're going to be a home underdog. Their previous 3 games, they're home underdogs. They won all 3 of those games outright. So people are just slow to come around on the St. Louis Rams. Not a whole lot of people believing in this team. And this spot, again this week, Green Bay has been getting a lot of public love, people pouring on the Packers out in Vegas. And I understand why. Listen, St. Louis does not have much in the way of offense. And Green Bay, they seemed to wake up last week, putting 42 points on the Houston Texans. I want to lean towards St. Louis in this game because they've been such a great team as a home underdog. I'm 2-0 betting on the Rams this year. However, like everybody else, I'm not sure they're going to be able to score enough points to keep up with Green Bay. So, the bet I like in this game, I am getting involved in this game. I am backing under 44.5 in this game. And I realize that's a little risky. I mean, we just saw Green Bay score 42 all by themselves last week against a top 10 defense. So when you see a total like this, 44.5, when you're dealing with an offense like the Green Bay Packers, no question, betting under a total like this is a little risky. However, I have great faith in this St. Louis defense. I said a few minutes ago, I feel the Houston Texans secondary was a little bit exposed last week, and I think they were. Houston just hadn't played a whole lot of teams early in the season who could pass the ball. I don't think they were quite as good in the secondary as we thought they were. St. Louis is a different story. I think this St. Louis secondary is who we thought the Houston secondary was last week. Excellent right now, 5th in the league defending the pass. Cortland Finnegan and rookie Janoris Jenkins, a great pair of cornerbacks. Listen, I don't think they're going to shut down the Green Bay offense, but Green Bay ain't going to be scoring any 42 points in this game. St. Louis played a lot of ugly games this year. They've sort of specialized in those type of games. I think we're going to see another ugly, relatively low-scoring game here. I look for Green Bay to score anywhere between 24 to 30 points, something like that. Like I said, they won't be shut down, but I do think they'll be limited. And the St. Louis Rams, I just don't expect them to generate much offense at all. I mean, Sam Bradford did play well last week, no question about it. But without Danny Amendola, who's his favorite target, the Rams just don't have much in terms of weapons. I expect Jeff Fisher to employ the same type of game plan he's been using this year. Fisher, smartly, has been very conservative on offense. The Rams have run the ball, tried to eat up a lot of clock, kept their defense fresh. That defense has played very well. I think Fisher's going to do the same type of thing in this game, try to keep that Green Bay offense on the sidelines. So I think under 44.5 is an excellent bet in this Green Bay-St. Louis game. So there you have it. Those are my 3 games this weekend. Houston -6 against Baltimore. New York Giants -6.5 against Washington. And under 44.5 in the Green Bay-St. Louis games. There you have it. That's the best I got for you. Best of luck to you in whatever you decide to do, just so long as your interests don't conflict with my interests.